Authentication is important for ensuring that the only authorized users of the application can access specific resources or perform action within an API, thereby safeguarding the system security and integrity while protecting sensitive data. Open APIs, on the other hand, are publicly available with the minimal authentication requirements or even without any authentication. These open APIs are instrumental for developer community, encouraging experimentations and boosting the adoption of API. Despite their open nature, they often impose rate limits or users quota to prevent misuse and ensuring access to resources for all users. You must be wondering, we are talking about the APIs, but where to find comprehensive API information? API documentation is the primary source of the information for API consumer, guiding them through the process of integrating, authenticating, and using the API effectively in their application. By referring to the documentation provided by the product owner, developers can ensure a smooth and successful integration of the API into their projects. Let's explore how this documentation looks like. To start API exploration, you can start with the github.com, and there are public APIs available. And these public APIs, a collective list of the free APIs for use in software and development. If you go down, you can see these APIs. I mean, this is the index basically. And then you have these APIs. This is the description, and it tells you whether the authentication is needed with this API or not. And same time, it is also telling you whether this is secured API or not. So wherever you see yes, this is protected by HTTPS, and some places you see no, that means it's going to be the plain text. The second option, you can go for this website, which is api.nasa.gov. You can also start using these APIs, and these APIs need a API key, and you need to fill this form and submit it. And then you get an email with the API key, and then you go to the APIs. Or let's start with this, browse the API. And while browsing these APIs, you can see this is going to be the HTTP request, and this request you need to integrate with the demo key or the API, the key which you got in your email. So you can use this kind of stuff. The third example, I would say I will refer to the Google Map, and in the Google Map also there are APIs available. So it's up to you how you want to start, but these are the good free public API resources. Let's discuss about the authentication, and our first method is going to be the basic authentication. As this is basic authentication, it needs username and password, whether you use it from the web browser or you use it from the Python. And that username and password will be encoded into the base 64. That means it's just not going to be the plain text kind of thing. But you don't need to manually encode the username and password into base64 format. It will be taken care by the library itself. So here you see I'm importing a request. That's going to be the library. This is going to be URL. And then you are putting your username and the password. When this request goes, it goes with this auth, and this auth is going to be encoded. And then your response get printed here. The second method for authentication is going to be with API keys. And these API keys are typically provided by your API provider or the service owner. When you sign up for an account or subscribe for an API services, the provider will often generate a API key for you. This key serves as unique identifier for your application or the user account when making requests to the API. Always follow the documentation and the guideline before you go for and obtain the API key securely. So here you can see this, the library I'm importing. This is going to be again the same URL, but this time we are putting a API key instead of the username and password. Let's discuss about the OAuth 2.0 and OAuth 2.0 is the industry standard protocol for the authorization. So let's try to understand this diagram, what is happening here. So this is the client and this is the resource what you want to access. So first you are going to initiate a authorization request from your resource owner, that is going to be A. In B, this is going to give you the authorization grant, and in C the client requests an access token by authenticating with the authorization server and presenting the authorization grant. So the moment you present this, it is going to give you the access token, and this access token can be used with your resource. That is how the whole thing works. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.